Alright everybody, so I'm just going to do a quick video here on how to do custom washes. Now you might be asking, why would I want to make a custom wash, especially when I have things like secret weapon wash, army painter wash, and GW washes, Reaper, and any of the other companies out there. Well, you don't have to make your own custom wash. These washes are formulated to work on pretty much anything you want to put them on. Now, obviously, certain colors you're not going to want to wash over certain things. Black you can pretty much put over anything. You'll get high contrast. You're not going to want to put a blue wash over yellow unless you're trying to make it green in the shadows and change the color from yellow to, a green color. So you really have to, know what you're wanting to actually do your wash for. So the idea of why you would want to do a custom wash over a generic brand wash that is formulated to work for most things. And let me do something real quick. Oh wait. Mute. Thank you. So is that you're trying to achieve a certain color and depth than what those generic colors are giving you. So for instance, I'm working on my Dracodile at the moment. And where'd it go? So my Dracodile has specific colors on it that probably aren't being super caught up into the camera, but I wanted my wash to go into the deeper areas because I didn't feel like, especially with all these scales and all this all the detail in his skin, where it's not these larger scales that you see up here. Like in here, I didn't want to have to pick out each one of these lines in his midsection. I'm not sure exactly what it would be called. So I didn't want to do all that craziness, and I really don't want to pick out all the details in his carapace area up here, all these little lines, segregations, and things like that are detailed into the model. But I want to darken this down. So I plan on actually doing a mop wash, which is where you cover the whole thing, you let it tint it down. Now, with the mop wash, you can take a clean brush after you go through the area that's damp, and you can remove any excess to try to help with softening the transitions from the area with wash without wash to give you a gradation. So if you look here, that's the wash that I actually put over the skin. So if you notice, it's kind of a purpley color, and when I make it, I want to use the colors that I'm putting down the model. So I'm making my wash the same way I would if I was shadowing the model itself in those areas. So I actually used my bloodstone, which is what the scales and the main body are all base colored from P3. It's a nice browny orange color. And in the shadow areas, with the airbrush, I had already laid down some Hall Red to give it a darker, richer, reddy brown color. So I put that into the wash. Now I wanted it also cooler, so I threw in this purple ink to get it down towards the cooler colors that I wanted the wash to get down to for the shadows. Now I put in some Reaper wash medium, and you can get wash mediums from other companies as well. You can even go to the big box store, hobby stores, or Walmart, and like Americana and them usually have their own wash medium that you can buy as well. They should work fine. I've used other mediums from things like that, and they've worked fine. In all honesty, I always recommend going to your local art store and buying like an art brand version of whatever you want. Usually you can get these at a really good size, and 40 to 50% off coupons for Michaels and Hobby Lobby all day long. I pretty much get one in my mailbox almost every day. So if you get something like your matte varnish here, which I seal all my models with, and I got another one of these here, gloss. Take you forever to go through these, and it's great for sealing your models. They're $12. You get 40 to 50% off. You bring them down to $6. I'm just saying $12 is a round number. I don't remember exactly what I paid for it, but you're going to save money. Now, you can also add in like water. You can make your wash out of just straight water. And I also, in this here, I have some flow improver, and I have drying retarder. Unfortunately for me, I need to have drying retarder or my paints dry out. I have the wet palette here, and this is bone dry. No water's coming out, and I just put water in this palette, let the sponge soak up the water like 2 hours ago, and it already needs more hydration in that palette. See, there's no water coming up. So for whatever reason, in any house I've ever lived at in Florida since I've been painting, the paint dries quickly on the model, my washes dry quickly, my water cups dry out, the water level on those dry out pretty fast, and my wet palettes I have to keep an eye on. I like this wet palette because of the depth of it isn't that high, especially the plastic part, but I'm thinking about going back to the old cheap dollar store sponges, just because I can put more water in the palette and it'll last longer, so I'm not having to do rehydrations quite as so much. So you can do anything you want for your wash. You don't have to use flow improver, wash medium, and like that, like I have. I just particularly like to use these things because they do have a use, they do have a function, and it's just a matter of what I'm looking to get out of the model. So I'm going to make a wash for that brown carapace because I really didn't want it brown. I wanted it as a dark brown green color. So that being said, I'm going to make a custom wash. Now I could use a brown ink, or I could use Agrasar shade, but it's not quite the color I want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the Thornwood green, hence why I thought it was more green than what it ended up being, and I'm going to pop it here in one of these cleaner palettes. Now I don't really have to, I'm just doing that for the sake of the video. Actually, I didn't need to do that. I'm going to steal it from what's on my wet palette with my junker brush. This is my brush that I don't care too much about. It's all beat up. Now, because I want to make it more green, I decided what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab out my ink from P3 green. I'm going to give it a drop of green ink. Come on. There we go. Now, I'm going to be cautious with using the green ink just because inks are very pigmented and very intense. So if you can see here, you can already start to see, I'm not sure how well the camera's picking that up, but you can really see this brown going to that green color that I kind of want this to actually be. So that's good because I'm losing that brown and I'm getting that green color that I want. But I want this actually darker than where it's at right now because I want it to go down in the deeper sections. Now I don't like using black for my shadows. Your shadow should have some type of color as far as I'm concerned. Now there's other people out there, black is the way to go. That's awesome. Personal preference. So I'm going to put some hardened carapace. It looks like it's a dark green black, more towards black. I'm going to put 2 drops in there since it's a normal paint. I'm going to mix this up. Now I'm doing this here now before I put medium in. to try to get the color I want without all the other stuff having to be messed with. And the color itself won't really change when you put the flow improver or water into that paint. So if you look here, we're getting a really nice dark green color that's more a grayish black, and I think that's pretty good. I'm kind of debating if I want to put one more drop of green in there to make that green color really kind of pop in there. You know, I can always add more paint, so it's not really a big problem. I'm going to add one more green drop. I don't know why this thing doesn't really want to drop out of there, but that's not a biggie, because it's better that it's not wanting to cooperate than wanting to squirt all over the place. Okay, so that's pretty green still, and it's dark. I think this will probably fit the bill of what I want, to be honest. So now it comes down to the point of, let's go ahead and thin this paint out to get that color, or not to get that color, but to get that wash consistency that we want to get. So I'm going to, at the start here, I'm going to use some flow improver, because that's going to help the paint itself flow into those deeper sections. So I'm going to put a couple of good drops in there and mix it up and kind of see where we're at. Now I don't mind putting too much in here because I got a lot of model to cover. So that's not a huge biggie. Now you can take it and put it out there and see how it flows, or dab it on the side of something to see how it flows. Now that's not flowing quite as much as I would want with something that's going to be a wash. Now, so I'm going to add actually a little bit of my wash medium. Now you're going to notice the wash medium itself. I didn't shake that up already. You're going to notice that this is going to kind of change. It's going to give it, it's kind of like a matte medium, really. I think it's really just a watered down matte medium or gloss medium. I'm not 100% sure what's in the wash mediums. And I actually think I have an Americana version of flow of a wash medium sitting around here somewhere. But when it dries pretty much where, and I've tested this before I started using it, it dries the same as if you hadn't used that particular medium. It just kind of, for whatever reason, it kind of washes it out a little bit in color, but not too much that I would personally want to worry about it. Now if you notice, the other paint did start dribbling. This was moving a little bit quicker. So I'm going to add a little bit of my water with the drying retarder, and that's why it's kind of, when it came out syrupy. Let's get some of the drying retarder in there, and that's been in there for a while, but it still works for painting, so I'm not too worried about it. So if you look here now, you can really see the stuff is moving. Yeah, put a drop on here. It's pretty thin now, and you want to be cautious with inks too, just because of the amount of pigment that's in them. Alright, now that doesn't look horrible. That doesn't look great. I want to give it a little bit more flow. Oh, 4 more drops. Let's see where it's at. And I've had that flow improver bottle for at least a couple good years, about 7. It's not too expensive. You can get gold in. That's Liquitex. Now that's flowing a lot better. Now what you can also do is you can put it on your glove and see how it reacts there. Some people like to take their skin as part of my cell phone and then see, you know, how does it go across your skin? You know, does it go into the pores? Now see, I'm going to do a mop, so I'm not too worried that the pigment doesn't quite go down in there, but this is actually a pretty decent wash consistency. I can actually go a little bit thinner and it just won't cover as much, where, like I said, I kind of want to bring the whole thing down on the model. So for me, I'm just going to add a little bit more of that water, and just one more drop should be good. And then from there I can go ahead and take part of the model in question, and I'm going to just take this and wash an area. Like I said, I'm going to mop wash in this, which means I'm going to cover the whole area. I'm not going to pin wash or panel line wash this on the model. But if you look, it is retreating from the areas that I don't want the wash to be in. It's going down into the darker areas, deeper areas, but it is coating and changing the tint of the actual brown underneath. It's giving it a lot more of a greener color. Now this is actually a lot greener than I thought it was from when I was looking at it. Go ahead and move this up a little so you can see it a lot better. So change that. Okay. So I want this actually darker. So I'm going to let this go ahead and dry, but I'm going to make this darker than what I have right now by changing that custom wash. Now the nice thing with the wash is you're going to use colors that you're already going to be putting onto the model. So that's going to harmonize your whole entire model and the way it looks. If in the actual flesh in his underbelly, I'm using the bloodstone. I actually got a little bit of the Hall red in there for the darker areas, and I have desert sand, or dark desert sand by Model Color, and that's all in the chest. And those colors are going to, that's pulling from the skin, because the colors that are in the main scale area are in there. And I've actually used, and I forgot to say it, I actually used this brown green color when I actually made the wash, the purplish wash, so that way that color, even though you might not be able to tell, your eye and your brain actually picks that up, and it harmonizes your whole entire model. So it's one of the reasons why you would want to make a custom wash, is to keep the harmony of your colors going, and that you can get particular colors that you want, because I honestly didn't want to put a GW wash in this area and have to work from that color. By using the same colors that are already on the model, and then what I'm already using in this midsection to make my wash or my scales, I'm saving myself heartache, if that makes any sense, and it looks more natural. It makes a lot more sense to your eye and your brain. But the generic washes that come out from the hobby companies are good washes, and they have lots of great uses, and I do use them myself. I do have stuff to make my own, but those are just some bottles that I have that I haven't used up, and once those are gone, I make my own washes. And if you want to know how to make your own washes like the big company ones, Luke's APS, he's got some great videos on how to make the GW washes, and actually some of their technical paint line stuff. And Les Bursley has a great video on how to make his washes using the inks and matte medium. Great video. It's the same wash recipes that Secret Weapon is using for their line. You're going to buy these larger containers of that stuff. You're going to buy a bottle kind of like this or bigger that you can pick up at the Hobby or Walmart cheap. You're going to fill those up with the proportionates to your particular taste, because you can actually change the recipe up a little bit and use those for your models. So if you're doing large armies and you're doing a lot of washing, and that little pot goes pretty quick, and you still got a lot more to go, but you can buy these and save yourself some money in the long run. So if you got a lot to paint like I do, it does come out being economical. So I hope this video helps. If you have any questions, feel free to leave me any comments down below, and I will get to them as soon as possible.